Hey guys, Dave from Nerdarchy, for nerds by nerds, hanging out with this nerd.
Nerdarchy Ted.
And today we're going to be delving back into the Deep Magic series. This time we're going to plumb the depths of the void with void magic.
Jump down the description below where you can sign up for Nerdarchy, the newsletter, get weekly gaming tips, as well as learn how to game with Nerdarchy.
Alright, we took a week off or so, but now we're back with the Deep Magic series. This time we got void magic. We got the design is by Dan Dillon, development and editing by Steve Winter. Art director and graphic design is Mark Riddell. Cover art, Marcel Mercado. Interior art is Guido Kipp and Marcel Mercado and Brian Sim. I'm sorry, I'm probably butchering so many of your names. And of course, the publisher is Kobold Press, Wolfgang Bauer. And, as always, this series, it's just amazing for what it is. They're just really small, short PDFs. Like, I'm so impressed with the art that goes into these things.
Mm-hmm.
And each time I'm kind of blown away with that. And this time, the writer is Dan Dillon, which is a Nerdarchy friend. He's been on our show many times. And what did you think?
All right, I liked it. If you guys want to check it out, there will be a link in the description. As always, we give you the breakdown first. So this gives you 2 feats, 1 tradition, and 13 new spells, 0 through 9. Jam packs it in. As a tradition, they make sure that they cover all the levels with the spells, which is really great to be able to give you that feel. I am 100% certain that stuff from this PDF is going to appear in my game before it ends, because there is just some good solid spells in this document.
Yeah. If you want to introduce corrupting magic into your game, this is the stuff to do it. And just the descriptions and the flavor text that goes along with this is just so good.
There are literally some spells. It's like, yeah, you can do this, but you're gonna take damage just for casting it or just for using this ability. It's like, wow, that's pretty messed up.
I don't know. Dan nailed him right out of the park with this one. So jump in there.
Right,
we get the feats.
So before we even get into the feats, they talk about void speech. And this is pretty much deep speech on steroids. It's like, oh, you think, the dark whispers of Cthulhu and deep speech is, kind of just creepy. This is just downright painful. You speak it. You can get corrupted. You use it in your magic, and bad stuff just happens. So we get into the void magic feats. We get 2 of them, as I said. You have void channeler and void scribe. So void channeler is you've learned a brief amount of void speech, and you pick one creature within 10 feet and you whisper or you say some of this stuff, and they make a wisdom saving throw, or they're frightened of you. They're literally terrified because you've spoken a few words of this speech.
Essentially, you've learned enough to basically ask, where's the bathroom, to a great old one. And that is enough to terrify most people.
So other creatures who can hear you suffer minor reactions to the void speech, such as spontaneous nosebleeds, headaches, bits of hair falling out, other unsettling effects. The first time you use the ability, you suffer no adverse effects. If you use it again before completing a short or long rest, you take 1d4 necrotic damage. Each additional time you use it before finishing a rest, the necrotic damage increases by 1d4. So you can keep making people terrified of you.
Until you die.
Until you just wither away into a husk.
It's pretty awful. And that's actually a theme throughout void magic.
So I thought that, getting into that's the first set of mechanics that you get into. And I'm like, yeah, I really like the way that this thing, is starting to shape up. Void Scribe is kind of the same thing, in that feel, but as opposed to saying something, you write it down. And the idea is whatever you put this on is something that you're looking to just have get destroyed. So you scribe this glyph, it gives it vulnerability to necrotic damage, and it just keeps taking damage until it's done.
Essentially, it's basically the words of void speech are so corrupting that, just by imprinting them on something, they will make it decay, corrode, and be destroyed.
So for the glyph to remain intact, you must concentrate on it as if concentrating on a spell. In addition to the normal demands of concentration, you must also make a successful DC 10 Constitution saving throw at the start of your turn, or the glyph crumbles away and ceases to function. So it's so powerful that you must maintain your concentration physically, each round, even without you taking damage. So I thought that was kind of unsettling.
So with that, we get into the arcane tradition Void Speaker. Now, again, one of the biggest things is you cannot use Void Magic without a verbal component. You have to speak to use it. As always, any kind of Void Magic, you're going to learn it faster, and it's going to be cheaper to inscribe into your spell book. So you have that aspect. Anything in this PDF is Void Magic.
Now, anything, as Dave says, anything here is void magic. But if you're not a void speaker, if you didn't choose that tradition at first level, you can't learn these spells just by gaining a level. By raw, you have to seek out someone who is a void speaker, or find a scroll somewhere and copy that into your spell book. You can't choose these spells when you get to choose new spells when you gain a level. So I thought that was kind of interesting to be like, no, this is dark and forbidden territory. You can't just choose them.
So the first ability that you get after actually just getting the ability to add these to your spell book is Whispers of the Void. Starting at second level, as a bonus action, immediately before you cast a spell, first level or higher, you can utter a few words of void speech and weave its dark magic into your spell. The tainted spell disorients one creature you can see that the spell affects when you cast it. The creature has disadvantage on the next attack roll or ability check it makes before the start of your next turn. You can't use this feature if you are unable to speak.
And that goes for everything. All of them say you can't use this ability if you can't talk. So don't play a mute void speaker.
Yeah, you're not going to be very effective. That is for sure. So basically, that just empowers all of your spells. This one that may actually be a little bit too good.
Giving one creature that's effective of your spell disadvantage on a single thing, not game breaking, but pretty darn good.
It's every time you cast a spell.
But
so
yeah, every time you cast every time you use a spell slot, you can use his ability. So pretty potent. But like I said, not game breaking. Rebuke from Beyond at 6th level. When you're damaged by a creature within 60 feet, you can use your reaction to bark a destructive word of void speech. If the creature can hear you, it takes necrotic damage equal to half your wizard level plus your intelligence modifier. You can use the ability a number of times equal to your intelligence mod, and you regain all expended uses when you finish a long rest. So, all right, it's kind of like a hellish rebuke. You're causing some damage because you took damage. Not game breaking, but
it's hellish
nice.
rebuke light, and you get to use it maybe a little bit more than your typical tiefling or warlock might. So, and the other thing, like what we're already seeing with this tradition is you have uses for your actions. That's not going to be a problem. The other thing we see with this tradition is the silence spell is their enemy for sure.
Yeah, you might want to prepare that counter spell as part of your thing.
So the next one is one that I'm a little leery of, and that is Powerful Echo. Starting at 10th level, you can cast a void magic spell that targets only one creature, and you can have it target a second creature. And additionally, you have advantage on Constitution saving throws made to maintain concentration on void spells. So concentration on void spells is not too big a deal. I mean, there's only 13 of them you could possibly even know, unless you make up more. But the fact, like, we've seen this ability before, but you're getting it at a much higher level, but there's no limit on it.
Right. So that was one of the things that I looked at as well. So you really have to break down the spells that you get and say, like, okay, a lot of these things really are, area effects. And, it's like, okay, well, so then how is that going to work? So
you're misreading it then, because
It says that.
I'm sorry. I'm misreading it. Never mind. It's not as bad as I thought. It's only void magic spells.
Right.
So I was thinking all spells, that would be a bit rough.
Right, yeah, you're not getting a free twin
Yeah.
every time you cast spells. It's when you cast a void magic spell that targets only one creature, you get to target two. So like it really comes down to like the couple of cantrips that are in here and maybe,
Couple other
couple
spells.
other spells. It's not that bad because most of them are area of effects, so therefore they don't target only one creature.
Yes. I misread it completely. Like, oh my God, if they can just basically twin at will, that's insane. And it seems like bad design, and Dan Dillon is really good at design. So
Yeah, so like that's why you have to reread. When his name is stamped on it, I'm pretty certain that, things are gonna be pretty well balanced.
yeah, so it still makes those couple spells though that much stronger.
I'm not gonna argue with that, but for a 10th level power, I don't think the couple of spells that you're gonna get are gonna be that much game breaking.
Yeah, so it is a matter of going through and seeing which specific spells that's going to affect. We know there's a couple cantrips, not a big deal.
Yeah.
It's those other spells that you have to watch.
Right. 14th level manifestation. You can use your action to pronounce a complicated phrase in void speech. Takes you 14th level to get a complicated phrase out. That's how powerful this stuff is. Choose a point you can see within 60 feet. The area is 20 feet of that point shrouded in dim light for 1 minute. Any creature hostile to you within the area is vulnerable to necrotic damage and has disadvantage on wisdom saves. An affected creature that starts in its turn in the area or enters it for the first time on its turn takes 3d6 necrotic or half as much after a con save. Once you use the ability, you can't use it again until you finish a short or long rest. Blah blah blah. You gotta be able to speak.
Yeah, so this is a really great control effect. Slap it on the battlefield. You don't have to concentrate on it, so you can make some fun things happen
So
using that.
You give somebody disadvantage on the wisdom checks. Which means they're gonna have a hard time seeing you, and they're gonna have a hard time resisting your dominate person.
Yeah, amongst other things. So now we get into the actual spells themselves. All the conjuring spells I found to be really interesting and a little terrifying because all of them, because you have Conjure Minor, Voidborn. There's another one of higher level, Conjure Voidborn. And the thing with these spells are you conjure them and they serve you unwillingly. They're not particularly happy about it. And if you command them, you actually take damage. They'll work to your betterment and they won't directly harm you intentionally. Indirectly, maybe. But if you actually command them, you take damage. And this is really bad. Because if you lose control of them, they're kind of pissed off, and they're pissed off at you.
Specifically pissed off at you and your allies for bringing them here. You get a fiend or an aberration that is considered a voidborn. So like you can choose what it is. The 5th level version gets you anything that's like the other summoning spells that are there. Challenge 2 down to challenge a quarter that you can get access to. Not all that fantastic. I think overall 5th edition really doesn't have enough summoning capabilities, but a 7th level gets you a challenge 6 or lower, so that you're really starting to get some power to play with. But it says if your concentration is broken, the creature doesn't disappear. Instead, you can no longer issue commands to the fiends, and it becomes hostile to you and your companions. It will attack you and your allies if it believes it has a chance to win the fight, or to inflict meaningful harm. But it won't fight if it fears it would mean its own death. The creature can't be dismissed by you, but it disappears 1 hour after you summoned it.
And let's face it, if you have these things out and you're using them, chances are you brought them here for a battle or a fight or something. So they're going to probably try and team up with your enemies. And if you've been issuing commands to them, you've been taking damage. That means Constitution saving throws to remain concentrating on this spell. And you know what? You could always get a bad roll.
You can only save up so much of that inspiration. You can only roll so many times before the dice gods say natural 1.
So one of the first cantrips we come to, there's only 2, is Crushing Curse. Range 60 feet, not bad. Speak a word of void speech. Choose a creature you can see within range. The target can hear you. It must succeed a wisdom saving throw or take die 6 psychic damage and be deafened for 1 minute. A deafened creature can repeat the saving throw at the end of each of its turn, ending the deafness on a success. The creature deafened in this way can still hear void speech.
Yeah, so getting made deaf but still being able to hear these destructive words is, I think, pretty darn amusing.
So we're only going to grab a couple of these. I'm going to go to one of the spells that I find a little disgusting.
Okay.
And I'm not sure if this one's too good or not. One, no concentration, lasts up to a minute. Living Shadows is a 5th level void magic spell, and this thing is sick. You whisper sibilant words of void speech that cause shadows to writhe with unholy life. Choose a point that you can see within range. Writhing shadows spread out in a 15-foot radius sphere centered on that point, grasping at creatures in the area. Not creatures. A creature that starts its turn in this area or enters that area for the first time on its turn must make a successful strength saving throw or be restrained by shadows. All right, not so bad so far. You get restrained. A creature that starts its turn restrained by the shadows must make a successful Constitution saving throw, or gain 1 level of exhaustion.
Yeah.
A restrained creature can use its action to make a strength or dexterity check, its choice, against your spell save DC. On success, it frees itself. Isn't the first level of exhaustion disadvantage on ability checks?
Yeah.
So if you fail that first saving throw, getting out subsequent rounds becomes that much harder. And that means a con save every round that you're still trapped. In 6 rounds, you're dead.
Yes. So that one I was a little leery of, reading through it just because I know how ridiculous exhaustion can be. But as a 5th level spell, I think that there's definitely ways to do it. And let's face it, most combats don't last 6 rounds.
That's true.
So
you might be dead way before then.
So depending upon how things go, it's not wholly, ridiculous, but repeated use of this spell against players can get utterly ridiculous.
A couple bad rolls and it's going to get ugly fast. I really want to use this spell against players.
All right, so I did a quick look through while you were reading that one, and besides the cantrips that are in there, there are only a handful of spells that do wind up having a single target on it. One of them was probably was something that I wanted to call out, and that's Nether Weapon. So 4th level spell, you whisper in void speech and touch a weapon. Until the spell ends, the weapon turns pitch black and becomes magical if it wasn't before, and it does 2d6 necrotic damage in addition to its normal damage on a successful hit. A creature that takes necrotic damage from the enchanted weapon can't regain hit points until the start of your next turn. So this doesn't say target in the description, so maybe that might not qualify for that 10th level ability, but there are 2 or 3 others that definitely fall into that. It targets one thing, but having this where it's like, yep, I'm just gonna start off with this this fight having this this weapon that's just wreathed in this dark blackness of void, and hey, it's gonna be a real problem for your cleric when they just can't when your allies just can't be healed because the enemy is just attacking you with these weapons.
It's visually really cool too.
I agree.
I guess we'll just call out one final spell, and that is Void Strike, because it definitely falls in that category we were talking about. It's a range of 90 feet. It's a 3rd level spell. With a short phrase of void speech, you gather withering darkness around your hand. When you cast a spell, as an action on subsequent turns, you can unleash a bolt of darkness at a target within range. Make a ranged spell attack. If your target is in dim light or darkness, you have advantage on the roll. If they're in complete darkness and you can't see in darkness, does that just eliminate the disadvantage? Is what I would take it to mean. On a hit, the target takes 5d8 necrotic damage and is frightened of you until the start of your next turn. At higher levels, you cast this spell using a spell slot 4th level or higher, and the damage increases by a die 8 for each of those. So literally, that 10th level ability just for that spell alone makes it totally worth it, because you're just going to be wrecking things.
So all in all, I think this is a solid get. Anything where the player, like when you're a PC doing this and you're damaging yourself, that becomes, you become the DM's best friend. It's like, oh yeah, sure, take as much damage as you like.
Make some concentration or saving throws for Constitution.
So lots of fun. Definitely some great villainous options that are in here. As stated, I am absolutely going to be using this in my game in one of the upcoming sessions.
Yeah, or if you like the I'm so goth dark heroes, this would definitely fall right in that category. But I think at some point you should probably go mad and become one of the villains. But let us know what you guys think. We got a place for it down in the description below. While you're at it, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.
While you're down there, don't forget to check out the link to Drive Through RPG and get your own copy.
So until next time,
stay nerdy.